Tuesday, October 18th, 2016. Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. I like to talk about the fallacy that central banks are independent or have been for the last 20 years or so, that central banks shouldn't be a political institution. Mainly because there's an interesting story in the Telegraph. It's actually an editorial by William Hague, who was the foreign secretary, or like the equivalent of the Secretary of State for the UK, foreign secretary under the Cameron government. I think he was foreign secretary until last year before the general elections, and he's not an economist, but he writes in the Telegraph and he says central bankers have collectively lost the plot. They must raise interest rates or face their doom. Excuse me. It's an interesting article coming from a politician or ex-politician. I think he's retired now, but I think he misses the point. He says, the Bank of England was given independence by Gordon Brown in 1997 when Labour came into power. And he says that prior to that, the Conservatives, of which he was a member, they were thinking as well of giving the central bank independence. But in my opinion, that was just smoke and mirrors and spin, basically to give investors this false sense of security that central banks can't be influenced by politicians, that they're totally independent, that they're going to do the best thing for investors and for the financial and economic system. But and he's basically saying here that central banks have gone too far. What they did in '08 was right, I guess, to save the system, but they've kept doing it. He's saying the Fed needs to start raising interest rates because it's all going to end in tears. But he misses the point, because what is a central bank? A central bank is a monopoly institution. And how do they get their monopoly power? Through the policy-making arm of the state, through the law. It was Parliament who's given the Bank of England monopoly power to issue the currency for the UK. It was Congress who gave the Federal Reserve System monopoly power to issue the currency in the United States. So all this talk that central banks need independence, that they're independent, they shouldn't be political, it's all a waste of time. They are political. The only time that the central bank independence kind of works is when the system is fairly stable and there's no interference from politicians. The central banks can keep things humming along, but whenever there's a crisis, like there was in '08, the politicians and the central bankers get together to save that system. That's political. So, in my view, the best central bank is no central bank. Why should the market for money, the market for banks, the market for interest rates, which is the cost of money, why should it be set by a monopolistic government institution? Because that's what it is. So Mr. Hague has got the wrong solution. Of course, the rates should be a lot higher than they're now, and the Fed and the Bank of England should be raising rates, not cutting rates. But that's not the point. The point is that we shouldn't have central banks at all. They create moral hazard because it gives the banks, the commercial banks or private banks, it gives them free rein. They know that they'll be able to privatize their profits, but whenever there's a huge crisis and they're all in it together, they'll be saved. by the government and the central bank. But if we had no central bank, and if politicians didn't get involved in saving businesses, be they banks, auto manufacturers, be they anything, businesses should be allowed to fail. Until we have that, we're not going to solve the problem of money and banking. So William Hague, he does say in his article, I'm not an economist, but it looks like they've lost the plot, the central bankers. Yes, you're right about that, William Hague, but I think you've got the wrong solution, in my opinion. The right solution is to abolish the legal tender laws that give central banks monopoly power of the currency, and just bring back free banking, no central banks. The UK didn't have central banks, a central bank until 1694. So I know it's a long time ago. The United States didn't have a central bank from 1836 to 1914, and it did very well during that period. You can't argue with that. So yeah. Is a huge fallacy that central banks are independent. They've always been political. I think it's just been a way to spin things over the last 20, 25 years. And this is what's created the problem we're now in, of huge debts, too big to fail banks. Basically, central banks create moral hazard because they allow banks to act recklessly, and they're still acting recklessly. So yes, Mr. Hague, good to see that you're at least seeing that central bankers have lost the plot. But I think you need to go one step further and call for freeing up the banking system, abolishing central banks, and making money and the price of money and banking totally independent from politics or government. So that's what I wanted to say here. So if you enjoy my videos, please like, share them, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And if you'd like to donate, there's some links below in the description. Take care, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.